Welcome back, and let's start with our first segment for today, talking about the economic achievements of June 30 revolution. We have many things to be tackled, in addition, of course, to all the economic procedures that were adopted to boost the economy in Egypt. Well, first of all, just allow me to welcome our guest for today, Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Nasha.
So I would like first, before we talk about something specific, to shed the light on the 30th of June revolution. Sometimes we think about this important occasion. What if it did not happen? What was going to be?
Yes.
Or how we were going to, how life is going to be if it did not happen, for example?
Yes, this is a very important question, Nashwa, because this is the willingness of people to shape their future, actually. We were going to a very dark area, in which we are not, conducting our life. It's going to be directed towards a small, category of the society, and in specific field, which is, it was quite dangerous for the Egyptian people. That's why all Egyptian people, they would like to say no to that, and we would like to shape our future. We are refusing this life, and this is the spirit of the revolution of 30 June. And I believe that we would like, from my perspective, I would like very much that these spirits could be directed towards how Egyptians nowadays should address these challenges confronting Egypt from different dimensions, as international level, regional, local. And I believe this should be emphasized and strengthened towards a better future. Why? Because the revolution, directed us to the new republic, directed us to, the positioning of Egypt on the international level, regional level, as a major player, because Egypt, had actually lost its identity during this period, and we are regaining such identity as a major player in the area. So from here it comes the importance of such revolution. Willingness of people can represent a core, and it's quite important, nowadays, to remember what happened. And for me, I would like to remind myself with the spirit of the 6th of October victory, because these are, strategic, action by Egyptian people. And from here it comes that we have to invest such spirit for a better life for the coming period, inshallah.
I think also talking about Egyptians' solidarity and persistence, and the fact that they all acted as one man, refusing a certain situation and starting it, regardless even of the repercussions. We know that it was not going to be that easy, but the Egyptian awareness was far beyond this.
Yes.
And the Egyptians were able to go and to continue with the Egyptian leadership to move, to face all the challenges.
Yes. This is very important points that I've just strengthened, that how to know, the strengths parts of Egyptian people. This is quite important, because all the time we are not capable to use our human resources efficiently enough towards achieving the main goal. So in such ceremonies, I would like to remind that, because we have to use this power. This power is quite important, and in all, the economic miracles that happened all over the world, like the Chinese, the South Korean, Southeast Asians miracle, all the time that there was this type of spirit that, you know, enhance the potentialities of people to go and to support the direction towards the advancement of the country. And from here it comes that when we have, as Egyptian people, we have very important points of strength that are not used efficiently. And this occasion may remind us to how refer to such type of, you know, strengths and points that we have to use it efficiently, specifically when we are nowadays, you know, confronting severe challenges coming from everywhere after COVID-19 and then the Russian-Ukraine war. Still, we are facing severe challenges that need such spirit to be used efficiently to address these challenges.
You know, moving around Egypt nowadays and just thinking of Egypt, for example, 9 years ago, things are completely different. For example, if I'm talking about mega projects that took place in Egypt and how it changed the map of Egypt, it changed everything. And whenever we talk about attracting foreign investments or local investments, we're talking about the infrastructure. This is one of the basic tools to attract more investments to Egypt.
Yes, of course, mega project can represent a very important, you know, backbone in order to attract investment. You know, first of all, we have to specify the importance of enlarging choices of, you know, investment for Egypt. We used to live on only 6% of the surface of Egypt. Nowadays, when we have this mega project linking Sinai with other parts of
and
Egypt.
The new cities.
Yes, the new cities, linking, you know, Upper Egypt quite well, the new valley. All these are representing areas that we neglected completely, and we are not using it efficiently as, you know, full of resources according to our studies as economists. You know, all these areas like Sinai, like New Valley, like, you know, these areas are full of resources that are not exploited. So when you enlarge this, the mega project and transportation and communication, all these are, you know, representing a very important potentiality for Egypt in order to use these resources efficiently to enlarge opportunities for Egyptians, you know, not to make condensed areas like Cairo and Alexandria full of population. You have now potentiality to spread population in these areas and to benefit from the potentialities of investment. And this is a very important point in order to increase GDP, because when you increase GDP growth, you have to increase investment. So investment, when it is, you know, planned according to your comparative advantage, according to your resources available. I believe that nowadays, for example, when we talk about Sinai, we have the potentialities to increase more than 2 million faddans to be cultivated in Sinai. Not only cultivated areas in Sinai, but the industries that may be related to such, you know, land reclamation. So this is opening opportunities for investment, for people to have potentialities of work, you know, and this is quite important to enlarge, you know, opportunities of job for Egyptians, you know, to spread population, like I mentioned. So all these are representing very new horizons for Egypt to, you know, increase GDP growth. To from here it comes that enhancing per capita income for all Egyptians. So you are opening, you know, more and more choices and opportunities for Egyptians. Still ahead, you know, you need to enhance such potentialities with other activities that we have to concentrate on for the coming period. Like we mentioned before in several, you know, you know, in several occasions that we need to upgrade skills of Egyptians. So, you know, because we cannot find opportunities of job with, you know, poor potentiality of human resources. So we have to upgrade skills. So we need training, we need, you know, directing and coaching used towards what are the potentialities of work that are relevant to their requirements and their, you know, skills. All these activities are, you know, quite important for the coming period, so that to benefit from such mega project, because it's not a matter of just mega project. You have to work quite harder in order to translate these mega project into opportunities of job for Egyptians.
Also talking about many developments took place in different sectors. If I'm talking about what we started to do or what we have done after the 30th of June revolution. I remember also trade zones and the Suez Canal. We used to talk a lot years ago about how important it is to have a trade zone and to have a means of cooperation with Arab countries and African countries. Now things are completely different.
Yes, of course, you know, this area is quite important. We used to have several projects, important and strategic projects in this area, but, you know, still to large extent it needs more efforts to be exerted in order to attract foreign direct investment, because using and benefiting from this location is a very important location. Remember, Nashwa, when we had a problem in Suez Canal, you know,
yes.
And to what extent the world had been affected by this problem, and how when we succeeded to address such problem and navigation returned back, to how extent the world, all the world, they have been discussing the importance of the Suez Canal. And from here it comes that this is translated nowadays on increasing revenue from Suez Canal, which is quite important to reflect the importance of this area. So imagine how we can attract foreign investment in this area, taking into consideration what's happening nowadays around us. You know, China, the position of China as the second largest economy, it's for their own interest to have locations of industries in different areas, specifically in the area of Suez Canal, in order to, you know, benefit from the potentialities of employment, of, you know, Egyptians are quite smart when they get the opportunity. So this opportunity is quite important to benefit from the Build and Road project, and a lot of potentialities that you can refer to. Your relation with the EU countries. We have revised lately our neighborhood partnership with Europe in order to enhance, you know, partnership on different areas, specifically renewable energy. And nowadays Europe, you know, Egypt is quite important for Europe from different angles. First of all, illegal immigration. Nowadays Egypt is playing significant role to address illegal immigration. The second part is still till now, when you revise and monitor to how extent we have benefited both sides from Egyptian EU partnership, still a lot of potentialities regarding Egypt, potentialities for investment for European countries from one perspective. From another, our trade with the EU countries, still it's against our interest and for the benefit of the EU countries all the way, which means that we need to work harder than that to enhance our capabilities for increasing the competitiveness of our industrial sector. So a lot of work needs to be done in order to rationalize your relation with blocks of countries that are important to you and essential to you. And our location can give us a very important privilege towards enhancing such relations.
Also, Egypt, one can say that Egypt was able to regain its strategic position in the region. We have seen President El-Sisi started from the first minute visiting many countries, taking into consideration the African countries, the countries in the Far East, making more and more economic agreements with the different parties, and the diversification also was very, very important at that time. Recently, for example, we have this visit to Oman and Bahrain, for example.
Yes.
It has its economic impact on the Egyptian economy. So if you would like to shed the light on these two
Yes,
visits.
of course. You know, what you have mentioned is quite important. Egypt, after the revolution, the 30th June revolution, started to regain our relationship with all parts of the world. Nowadays, we have very good relations with, you know, United States, with the EU countries, with Asian, on top of them China and Japan and so on. We are enlarging, you know, and enhancing our relations with all parts of the world. Still the question, to how extent you are benefiting from such relations? You know, nowadays you are regaining your relations. How Egypt is positioning itself in the world economy? This is a very important question. And from here it comes that nowadays when we are preparing for COP27, Egypt is representing the African continent. And Egypt exerted very important efforts when Egypt presided the African Union 2 years ago. We exerted very important effort into specifying what are the challenges confronting the African continent, to how extent the African continent is suffering from severe problems of poverty, of unemployment, of not exploiting our resources as African continent for the benefit of our people. And from here it comes that we are about to shape our future as African continent, and Egypt is playing significant role to do that regarding how to manage our visionary approach, how we can, you know, go more towards industrialization of the continent instead of just exporting our raw materials. To what extent we can address multinational corporations for the benefit of, you know, both sides, not just to be exploited by multinationals as a source of raw materials. So all this, you know, like headlines towards, you know, changing the position of the African continent on the world economy, Egypt has worked on that in cooperation with African continent. Nowadays, we are, you know, presenting ourselves as a African continent into the world economy with different perspective and with different visionary approach towards more industry, more using our resources. So this is one part of the story, and it is a quite important part. The second part that nowadays, and you mentioned it, Nashwa, is how to enhance our relations with the Arab countries. This is a strategic and a matter of, you know, security for the Arab League, for the Arab countries. Why? Because when you see what's happening into Arab countries, you know, during the last period, we can see that different countries of the world are trying to interfere and to get their interest, you know, against the interest of Arab countries. So it is a very important message for Arab countries that they have to unify their efforts, to harmonize their efforts, so that to prevent just to keep their, you know, identity and to keep their interest within the Arab countries. And economic side can represent a very important cornerstone towards achieving that. And this is what's happening for such visits you mentioned, is how to find, you know, the points of mutual interest, of mutual investment. For example, what happened in Oman and in Bahrain is to discuss, when you refer to our relations with Oman and, you know, Bahrain, you can see that our economic relations is quite weak compared to the potentialities, like it didn't exceed $1 billion, our trade relations with both countries. So this is quite, it's not good for both countries. We have to enhance our, economic relations. And the steps that have been taken during this visit is, first of all, what are the investments that can go for the benefit of our both countries, which means that nowadays we are going to think about having investment fund. This investment fund, it needs, we have a body, institutional body. This body is going to look for what are the potentialities of investments that's going for both interests of countries, not like renewable energy, like for transportation, what type of transportation we need in order to enhance our trade relations, for example. So we need to do it. We need to unify the standards regarding qualifications of the product and so on, so that we can, when we import and export, we know quite well what we are talking about. So all these steps that should be taken in order to enhance our trade relation, our investment, instead of Omanis to go in other parts of the world, they have potentialities in Egypt and vice versa. So these potentialities may enhance intra-investment. And when you enhance intra-investment, you enhance intra-trade. And from here it comes that you generate opportunities of job for people of both countries. So I believe these steps are essential, are important in order to stabilize the Arab, area, taking into consideration that the largest unemployment of youth is in Arab countries. Another point which is quite important is the participation of women in economic life, still very minimal in Arab countries compared to other parts of the world. So if you use Arab women efficiently enough in enhance their potentialities for joining labor force and so on, you can increase to a large extent GDP growth and enhance the potentiality of diversification of the economies of Arab countries. So all these can be regarded as strategic security for Arab countries to address challenges coming like Ukraine-Russian war.
Right. Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University, thank you very much for joining us. Still, we have more to bring you. Moving on to a short break, then we'll be back with more on The Breakfast Show.